Ignore background. That's research for a possible different review or maybe topic video. I haven't decided yet. But on the us, time to review Unicorn Overlord. Now here's the thing. I want to start with I actually love this game. No, really. I actually really love this game. It's not what I was hoping for necessarily, but it is far closer to a kind of spiritual sequel to that of Ogre Battle March of the Black Queen. Far more so than Ogre Tactics Reborn, which was boring and frustrating and an irritant. And did I mention so boring? This game does have a bit of an issue with boredom, but it's not in anywhere near or shape as form as bad as Reborn was by any stretch. And honestly, when it comes down to it, I feel like this game, while not necessarily just a sequel like I would like literally Nintendo, I don't give a shit what you need to do. If you need some random schmuck to lead the project, fuck it, I'll do it for free. I'll lead that project for free happily because I know that it's going to make another Ogre Battle March of the Black Queen game. I will do it for free. Legitimately. I will do it for free, for nothing. Not even pennies. Not even for a yen. A yen, not even. No. For nothing. For air, for Christ's sake. That's how you know you had a good game and have fucking ignored it too long. Dear Lord. Let me just try and... Oh, hold on. There we go. Honestly, genuinely, and from the heart speaking, when it comes down to it, I do like Unicorn Overlord. There are some complaints, some things I wish were different. Thank God none of those are necessarily hugely like game ruining stuff, at least. So that's a good news. I am going to start with the only thing of bad news I can really like dig for, is that the game, it feels like it needed a little longer in development for some aspects of it, especially stuff like career changes. They don't take long to get. There's only one of them. And tons of the later game characters are already in their second form, so they're already kind of capped to the strongest they can be. Down. Look, the fact is that this career change thing, while I do find it a negative because of how quickly it becomes just done and over with and never need to look back at, I will say this game does have at least enough content in other places to make up for it, thankfully. And while I have mixed feelings about the story at certain bits, I will give you the perfect summary of it now. It's just that I feel like the early part is okay in its pacing. I feel like the middle part's a bit slow, and then it feels like the end's not necessarily fast, but I definitely wouldn't call it just right when it comes to pacing either. I'd call it somewhere in that awkward middle ground between a little too fast, just right. So, I will say there's plenty of cool things about it. Like, for example, it's not as much as I wish, personally, but there is tons of moments where you get to decide on if you want to recruit a character or for their crimes if you would rather just execute them right then and there. That does kind of create a cool little incentive to play the game a second time. But there are three endings, and I'm not going to lie, trying to convince yourself to do that third ending might be a bit tricky. I don't really know what the requirements are, but it's very clearly tries to set up a third ending. I think I'll stick with the ending where I slaughter everyone to where I spare everyone. Thank you. And I'll, just to make it different, I'll make sure that the ending decision is one of the two different choices, even though they don't 100% seem right for that character at the time, just to make it more interesting. Now, character customization is gone, really. Whereas within Ogre Battle, you had a really good, decent amount of customization. You didn't know it, but you had a decent amount of customization because your character would change radically or on a small level depending on the tarot cards you drew and the answers you gave. And what was the last card you drew at the end. This would change your character's makeup, the way they fought, the way their usefulness would play out, whether they were necessarily a character who's like, oh, I should be in the front line or if I should be in the back line. This game does take some inspiration from it. For example, it has the limitation of you can only have 5 total units per team. It does cut out the whole being able to have like actual monsters on your team, which is kind of a bummer, but they at least make up for it by having enough variety of classes to the point where it's not too bad. It's still not great. It's still kind of sucktastic, but it's not like, what the hell, I've been cheated at least. So, win some, lose some. Ultimately speaking, when it comes down to the fact of just liberating places, thankfully that still feels kind of badass. Even if not the same way, it still feels good to be like, yo, this city, I took back this city. This is our city once again. Woo! That stuff feels good. That feels great when you liberate a town, especially when it's a place that's higher level than you are. Not like that'll be too huge an issue. This game, when it comes down to its difficulty settings, is, from what I've seen so far, relatively fair. I would say if there is any kind of problem born from the game's design, is more just the grindy nature of it. You want to have a max full 5 teams, have fun grinding. A lot. Like an entire day of grinding. Oh, and don't do Coliseum unless you want to break your game. Literally, I completed the Coliseum and I broke my whole game thanks to one character. One character basically turned me into immortal, and my fun was hurt because of that. Unless you're ready to crank that difficulty up, I just don't advise getting her at all on the lower difficulties, especially not easy. Don't do it. You will become unkillable. It will become almost laughable, if not boring outright, from how quickly you will just whack, 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 whack. Oh, it's the ending boss? Nah. That's not great. So yeah, I wish I knew that before I did it, but yeah. Ultimately speaking, the game is not a bad game, but I do feel like there are some things that are kind of a silly problem to be had. Kind of silly. For example, no matter what you do, you kind of feel incentivized to go with pretty much the same team setups. It's not that you can't go with other team setups, it's just you kind of always feel a little bit more incentivized to keep your team rounded out, and that's not great in my opinion. I mean, if I'm having my teams rounded out intentionally by my own choice, that's one thing, but when I feel like there's no real incentive to get weird with any of my team setups, that's not great. That's not a great feeling. Now, they do have romances in this one, which I honestly, any chance that I get to have romances in a game, I love it, especially when I get to be a bit of Cupid here and try and hook some people up too. Beautiful. I kind of can't do that to the full extent that I'd like. I can't get no characters hitched. I can't play no matchmaker. Unless I do it in my head canon. Which is kind of a bummer. But I will say that the romancing that you can do for your own character isn't half bad. Although I will state that there is an opportunity that was kind of missed here for no real good justifiable reason. In this game, you could have had a pick as a male or female option, and it would have been disgustingly easy. Like, boringly so even. So why that's not there by default, no real clue. It's not really sensible to me, especially since, like I said, the opportunity is literally right there on a gold platter, ready to use already. And it would also add at least a nice variation to the overall way you start the game, because that option not being there, you're starting with the same character who has the same dialogue options, who can only be one of the 2 same classes throughout the whole game. Whereas at least if you had a choice between the prince or the cousin of the prince, what that does is that adds in a whole nother way of play because she's a different class and turns into a different advanced class, adding that breath of fresh air you need because you need it. And especially since, honestly, since they are cousins, their whole story arc of this unicorn power, this power that has decided, I will give my power to you. Go and get justice. Or revenge, whatever helps you. That whole thing could have still been offered to the cousin because technically they're still of the same bloodline. So it still would work. So again, like I said, it's so heavily on a golden platter that it just kind of comes across as a missed opportunity to give the breath of fresh air that's needed, since there's no real way to change his class outside of the two classes on offer. You either have on foot prints or on horseback prints. Nothing changes, nothing alters really. You're just, now I'm on a horse. That's it. Which kind of sucks because, like I said, you kind of need that breath of fresh air, especially if you're going to be doing the. Like I said, I'm pretty damn sure there's a third ending. I wouldn't be surprised if there is. What it needs to do, I just am not interested, unfortunately. I am willing to play this game. Don't get me wrong. I'll pick it up on occasion, but the sad thing is do I feel like this is a game where you're gonna play it, then play it, then play it, then play it, then play it? No. I think what's actually gonna happen is you're gonna play it once, and either go for that second time, and then take a huge, massive break, or you're gonna play it once, take a nice giant break, then do the other one after that, and then go on a nice giant break. I don't feel like this is one of those games where the replay value is all as high as it needs to be for some people. For me personally, replay value is a factor that does matter, but it is nowhere near as important as how was the overall everythingness. And I will say, thanks to that, and due to how little bugs and problems I've had so far, I will say that for me, this is a pretty easy 7 out of 10. Pretty good. Not amazing, and not necessarily collector's edition type stuff worthy. No. But a solid enough game if you can get it for cheap. It is a very fun experience. I do kind of... All this really did, though, which was kind of sad, because I know that unless Nintendo hired someone outside of Nintendo to do the leading of the project solely for the specific sake of ensuring that the quality of the product does not dip and instead is maintained, I don't think we're going to get an Ogre Battle March of the Black Queen 2. Or really, if it did happen, I doubt that they could do it competently. Which is kind of sad. Because especially if you ask Mab, I actually adore March of the Black Queen, and it was the first time Smabs ever heard me actually fully energetic and fully having fun. Fully going absolute batshit. like, I'm pretty sure her thought of my sanity was already low. It probably hit the ground floor after that. But I do love that game, and I kind of want a sequel to it. But the problem is I don't want a half-baked or a half-measured sequel. I want an actual sequel that is worthy of the first game. And honestly, Nintendo, if you hear this, if you watch this, I doubt it. But if you do, like I said, I will happily, with the biggest freaking 1990s Joker smile, I will happily work on and lead the entire project for a March of the Black Queen 2. Happily. Like, I will make the Joker look like Pouty, okay? That's how much I'd be smiling and stuff. Whew. But, do I think Nintendo will see this? Unless I magically turn into a monkey's uncle. Not likely. But I do hope that maybe somehow we do eventually get there. To that point of where we're actually finally getting a March of the Black Queen 2, whether a spiritual successor or a legitimate successor, whatever have you. There are some things I wanted to go over, but I feel like too many of them are really kind of two in the middle. They're not really good or bad. So I'm not really sure that they're really worth bringing up for the sake of this review. I am going to throw this in. Is it really an important thing? Does it affect the score? Is it good or bad? None of it. It's just a side note. It's not even a nitpick, it's just a side note. It'd be cool if we could have more than just a team of 5 in these games. That's it. That's the ending remark. No, literally. And I will get to this, seeing if there's going to be an actual video of an opinion or maybe a review about this game. I don't know yet. I just found out I had to restart because apparently some of the allies I had to recruit to even move forwards, I had missed a ton of them. So yeah, I had to start over. So yeah, wish me luck on that noise. I'll see you all when I see you. See ya.